Hello. So again, I am continuing my series of videos on games that I own but have only played once. And next up is Revolver 2. I played this once in 2015, and I actually played it by myself, just trying to learn the rules, thinking I would eventually play it with somebody else, but that has never happened. I have no idea where I acquired this game. I'm pretty sure I didn't buy it, so I'm guessing I either got it as a door prize from a BGG con, or maybe somebody gave it to me as a Secret Santa, or maybe I won it somehow. I really don't remember, but I'm almost 100% sure I didn't buy it. So anyway, let's get on with the how to play and some example terms. Okay, first thing is setup. So the first thing you do is find these three Malpaso battlefield cards. You got the Los Cuantos Bridge, the town of Malpaso, and then the abandoned silver mine. So you lay those three cards out like that on the table. Then you place this Dynamite the Bridge card just somewhere near this Los Cuantos Bridge. It just has instructions on how that bridge can be destroyed when you get to it. Then you place the Gatling gun and the Collapse the Tunnels instruction cards over here by the abandoned silver mine, and they'll come into play when you get to this last battlefield at the abandoned silver mine, and they just have instructions. You place the True Grit and Power tokens just in a supply somewhere near everybody. Then in front of the player who's going to be playing the Malpaso Guardians, you place the 7 starting Malpaso Guardians, and you'll see that they have a starting Guardian icon down there in the lower right. And some of them show that they get a True Grit token on them, so if they have that, you put the True Grit. This one actually gets 2. And then from the remaining cards, the remaining 12 Guardian cards, you shuffle them and put them in a draw pile near your starting Guardian cards. The Malpaso player will also take this Mexican Army card, Arrival of the Mexican Army card, and put that in their play area along with 12 of these little Mexican sombrero tokens, and they go on the Mexican Army card. Okay, in case I have not mentioned, which I'm pretty sure I haven't, this is a 2-player game. So one player will be on one side of the cards there, the Malpaso player, and the player on the other side will be the General Mapachi player. Okay, each player will take their set of 6 All Rivers Stud Poker Tournament cards and shuffle them and put them in front of themselves. Then each player will randomly discard 1 card, and without looking at it, just put it back in the box. Then each player will choose a card from their hand that they wish to play in this round of the poker tournament. This is still all part of setup. So I'm going to just, because I'm doing it single player, I'm just going to do it randomly. So I'll say the Malpaso player plays the Full House card, and the General Mapachi player plays the You Cheatin' Dog card. And there's a little handy dandy card that tells you how the outcome of the poker tournament goes. Higher number beats the lower number. You got your little number down here in the corner. But he played the accusation card, and so any number beats that. So in this case, the Malpaso player won this first hand, and you're playing 2 out of 3. So that's one hand. The Malpaso player won, so we'll just Put those cards aside. Then each player will play another card. So we'll just say the Malpaso player plays this one and the General Mapachi player plays this one. So this time we look at the numbers. So the General Mapachi played a flush and he played a straight. So his number is 5, which is higher than the 4. So he won that hand. So now it's a tie. So we have to play one more hand. So we'll say the Malpaso player plays a straight flush. And he's going to win because he has an 8 and he has a 3. So the Malpaso player has won the tournament. So if the Malpaso player wins, you place these 3 cards onto the board to the left of the Los Cuantos bridge, and they give a little bit better benefit to the Malpaso player. If the General Mapachi player had won, then you would place these 3 cards, and they give a little bit better benefit to the General Mapachi player. But the Malpaso player won, so we'll put these, and you put them in order. So we got 3, has a number down there, 3 there, 2 there, and 1 there. So you'll end up having a total of 6 battlefield cards. Now, each player will look at the cards they played in the tournament, and if they have any bonuses, then they get to apply those. So the Malpaso player gets to put 2 +1 power tokens at Malpaso. So you get these power tokens, and he just gets to put those at the on the Malpaso card, and then he can discard his cards. And the General Mapachi player, he gets to put +1 sombrero token on the arrival of the Mexican army card, which will make it take longer for the Mexican army to arrive. And he will also get +1 card for his starting hand. Okay, then each player will take their deck. The deck with the green Revolver 2 lettering is the Malpaso player, and the deck with the orange Revolver 2 lettering is the General Mapachi player. You'll shuffle that deck and put it in your play area. Then each player will draw 5 cards, and that will be their starting hand. But remember, from the poker tournament, the General Mapachi player gets +1 card in his starting hand, so he'll have 6 cards. So here's the 5 card hand for the Malpaso player. Now, of course, in a real game, you'll have these in your hand so that your opponent cannot see them, but since I'm just playing solo, I just have it laid out. And here's the 6 card starting hand of the General Mapachi player. And that completes setup, and now we're ready to play. So, to win the game, the General Mapachi player wins if ever all of the Malpaso guardians are killed. So you start with 7, and you can get more throughout the game, which we'll go over here in a bit. But if ever all the guardians are killed, then the General Mapachi player wins. The Malpaso player wins if after completing each turn in these battlefield cards at the end of the final turn in the abandoned silver mine, if Padre Esteban is still alive, then the Malpaso player wins. Or if the last sombrero token is taken off the arriving Mexican army, then they win, and then they've arrived, and the Malpaso player also wins. So kind of the story of the game is the General Mapachi, no good outlaws are coming and attacking the town of Malpaso who have sent Father Esteban or Padre Esteban to go and hire some gunslingers to protect the town. So as they travel back through town to Malpaso, they're being attacked by the General Mapachi, and then finally there's a final battle here at the abandoned silver mine. Alright, so how do you play? Well, each turn, each player, starting with the Malpaso player, will follow this turn sequence. The Malpaso player only will advance the turn marker, so on the first turn it will go on the first space of the first battlefield card, and hopefully you don't knock your cards around. Then you'll see on these spaces underneath of them they have a number, so this white +1 means the Malpaso player gets to draw one additional guardian from his guardian deck. So he gets to do that now. And we'll put it there, and it gets a true grit token. So I'll add that. And what these true grit tokens do is when you would kill that guardian, instead of killing it, you can remove the true grit token, and so it's basically an extra life. Now you'll see some of these spaces on these battlefield cards have a green number in brackets. So those are optional spaces. So when the Malpaso player would advance the turn marker again, he could decide to just go ahead and skip to the next card and start the next turn on the next battlefield. Or if he decides to go ahead and take another turn on this card, of course here he would get to get another guardian, and here he would get to get another 2 guardians. But then he's taking more turns on each card, which could be advantageous to the General Mapachi player. So it's just kind of a choice for the Malpaso player whether he wants to take those extra turns in that battlefield to try to get more guardians, or if he thinks it's better to just go on to the next card. Because again, he's got to survive to the last turn on the last card. Okay, so again, the turn sequence, which each player will do. The Malpaso player only will advance the turn marker, and then he draws 2 cards from his deck into his hand. And then he can play cards. Now, some cards have a cost to play, like when it has this icon here, then to play that card you have to discard 3 other cards from your hand. Some cards have no cost, and some cards have another icon like this barrels here, which those can be used later at the dynamite, the bridge, or the silver mine. So you have to decide, do you want to use this card for its power, or do you want to use this card later for that icon? So it's kind of a choice to make. Some cards just have, a single one-shot power that have no cost, and you can play as many cards as you want on your turn. Now, some of these cards have a power icon in the top, and you'll play those to the battlefield. So the Malpaso player can only ever play 3 cards underneath a battlefield, while the General Mapachi player can play as many cards in a battlefield as he wishes. And at the end of the General Mapachi player's turn, whoever has the higher total power in a battlefield wins that attack. And if the General Mapachi player has the higher power in the battlefield, then he wins, and the Malpaso player must kill one of his guardians, and you always have to kill from the lowest level up. So you always, in the beginning of the game, you'd have to kill off one of your 0 level characters before you could kill off like this 4 or 5 level. Padre Esteban is always the last one. He's the highest level, so if he's ever killed, then the Malpaso player will lose. So if Mapachi puts more power cards in that battlefield, then, or more cards with a higher power value, then the Guardian player must kill off one of his Guardians. And if the Malpaso player has a higher power level in that battlefield on this turn, then he gets to remove one of the sombrero tokens from the Arrival of the Mexican Army card. So that advances the possibility that the Mexican army will arrive, which would let him win the game. So again, going over the turn sequence, starting with the Malpaso player, he only will advance the turn marker. Then he'll draw 2 cards into his hand. Then he'll play as many cards as he wishes. And then it will go to the General Mapachi player. He won't advance the turn marker, but he will draw 2 cards. Then he'll play as many cards as he wishes. And then once he's finished playing cards, then you'll check the power in the, in the battlefield, and whoever has the highest gets, the benefit I described. Either one of the Guardians is killed, or one of the tokens is taken off the Arrival of the Mexican Army. So just to give a quick example of that, we'll say the Malpaso player drew his 2 cards on his turn, and now he wants to he's going to play this card to the battlefield, which will give him 1 power. He also gets 2 power here by default, so that'll give him a total of 3. Plus, this means his opponent has to discard 1 card, and it has to be when it's got that little orange icon. He's got to discard 1 card at random from his hand. So, we'll just say, all right, there. Okay, he discarded this one. So then we'll say, he's got this cannon that he could play that's got 6 power, but he's got to discard 3 cards if he wants to play it. So we'll just say this turn he's just going to play this Colt Revolver that has no cost. And that's all he's going to do this round, or this turn. So now it goes to the Malpaso player, the General Mapachi player. So he gets to draw his 2 cards. And then he wants to beat the total that the Malpaso player has here, which is 2, 3, 4, 5. So he wants to beat at least 5. So he could play this Los Desperados card, and the opponent has to discard a card. So he'll play that. So I've got, now it's not the orange icon, so I can choose which one to discard. So I'm just going to discard this cannon. Okay, then the General Mapachi player will play he could just play this Mudslide card, which makes this icon here goes with the Guardians. So he just has to kill 2 Guardians just because the General Mapachi player plays this card. So now I've got to kill 2 Guardians, so what I could do is, remove this token and this token. Now again, it has to be off a level 0 card, or I could just kill the Silver Lady. So discard her and remove this token off of him. So that's 2 Guardians killed. And I could play another Los Desperados cards. And again, the opponent has to discard a card from his hand. So, I don't know. We'll just say those are all good. We'll just say he discards this one. And that so far he's only got 4, and he's got to beat at least 5. So he's got to get at least 2 more. You can't just equal. You got to. So he'll play this one, Ruales, and he gets to draw a card. So we'll draw a card into my hand. And he's got another one of those, so he'll play that. And so he'll get to draw another card into his hand. And now he's got a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So he's going to quit. And then now we go to the attack phase where you compare totals. So he's got 6 to 5, so he won that attack. So now the Guardians Malpaso player has to kill off another Guardian. So again, he's got to take one of the lowest level ones, so he's going to kill off Maria Canales. And that's the end of the turn. So again, now it would come back to the Malpaso player, who would decide, do I want to just advance to the next turn on this card and draw another Guardian, or do I want to go ahead and go on to the next card? Since these are green, they're optional. So he could say, well, all right, I'm just going to go on to the next one. Now it does have a +1, so he gets to draw another Guardian from his Guardian deck. And he gets old Zachary McCready. And again, he gets to draw 2 cards. He's only got 3 in his hand, so he gets to draw 2. And then he can play cards, but now you're playing into this battlefield. Now remember, he has a limit of 3 cards, so even if he puts 3 on this turn, then he's still got to play at least one more turn on this card. Now you can replace, if he got a better card, like if he put 3 cards out here on this turn, and then on the next turn, turn 2 here, he got a card that had better power. He can replace one of the cards that he has there, but he can never put more than 3. And then again, then it would be the General Mapachi turn, and he would play cards, and then again you would compare the total and decide whether a Guardian's killed or a token is taken off the arrival of the Mexican army. And so you keep playing that way. When you get to this bridge, I mentioned some of the Malpaso players' cards have a dynamite token on them, which I think I showed. But if you have some of your cards with that, you can discard 2 dynamites, and then any cards the General Mapachi player had placed here at the bridge, you would get to take them all off, and then you flip the card over and the bridge is destroyed. Now again, you would still, if there's still additional turns on that card, you would still have to play them. So then the General Mapachi player could put more cards there. But if it was, say you were on this card for the second turn and he had 4 or 5 cards on there and you blew it up with 2 dynamite, he would have to discard all of those. So then starting, on the next turn or on his turn, then he could start to put more cards on there. But it would allow you to get rid of some of them. And so you play through the town again. As you get, in the first 2 cards, the Mapaso player gets bonuses, but then they start to disappear. Now here he would get a +2 because he got those for winning the poker tournament. And finally, at the last card, the Abandoned Silver Mine, both the players have a little trick or bonus card that they can do some extra things on. So the General Mapachi player Some of the cards in his hand have these Gatling gun ammo tokens. So for every card that he's played, like if you'll notice, like these cards with the power on them, they have this little raccoon token on them. So for every card he's played in the column here that has that raccoon token, he can play, discard a card with one of these ammo and just automatically kill a guardian. So if he had 2 cards in this column with the little raccoon icon on there, which that just means a General Mapachi firepower card, then he could play 2 of these and automatically kill 2 guardians. So it gets where the General Mapachi player can kill off some guardians pretty quick if he has cards with that icon on. Of course, now if you play him for that icon, then you don't get the whatever the power they have. And I should mention this card since I've got it in my hand. It has this orange border, and it says block 1 row at any battlefield. So the General Mapachi player can play this on the Malpaso player's side of the board to block one of the rows where he can put a card. So, I said normally the Malpaso player can play 3 cards on his side. Well, if the General Mapachi player plays one of these cards, he takes up one of those spots, so allowing the Malpaso player to only play 2 cards on his side. But a trick at the silver mine that the Malpaso player has is he can discard 2 cards that have the TNT barrel icon on them, and if he does that, he collapses part of the tunnel and he gets to destroy all the cards in the General Mapachi player's column. And again, more can be put there on the general's turn. So finally, at the end of the 4th turn on this card, if the Malpaso player still has Padre Esteban alive, then he wins the game. Or if during that turn somehow he removes the final sombrero token, then the Mexican army arrives and the Malpaso player wins. But if at any time on this card or before all of the guardians are wiped out, then the General Mapachi player wins. So that's basically how you play the game. I'll go ahead and do a couple more example turns. Continuing from where we left off here, it was the Malpaso player's turn. He had gone ahead and advanced to this card. He drew 2 cards. So we'll say he wants to see this one. He could kill one General Mapachi firepower card, but he can't play it on this turn because he doesn't have any in this battlefield, so that doesn't do him any good. And this one he can kill up to 2, so those are both good cards. This one has 6 firepower, which is great, but then he's got to discard 3 of these cards. So I don't know. Let's do that. So he's going to play this cannon, but he's got to discard 3 of his cards. So we'll just say he's going to discard these 3, but he gets to draw 1 card for playing that. But now he's down to 2 cards, and none of them are a firepower card. So he can't put anything else there, and none of these other cards will do him any good right now, so he just has to end his, says he's done. Alright, well this is the General Mapachi's hand, and he gets to draw 2 cards now because it's his turn. And he's only got, well, he's got a total of 8. So he's not so sure he can do that. Well, he's got this one that's worth 5, but if he plays it, he's got to discard 1 random card, and the opponent gets to draw a card. But he's going to go ahead and do that. So he's going to play that. Now he's got to discard 1 random card from his hand, and then the opponent gets to draw a card into his hand. So that gives him 5. What else does he have here? He does have this, which he's going to play over here, which is going to take one of the 3 spots that the Malpaso player can play. So he will only be able to add 1 more card to this battlefield in the future. And then he's going to play this Los Chuchillos card. And it's worth 4 points. And then he has to randomly discard 1 card to destroy one of the opponent's power cards except artillery. So he won't be able to destroy that. But he still, even though he can't destroy that card, he still has to discard 1 random card. Well, he's only got 1 card left, so he discards that. That gives him a total of 9 against 8 for Malpaso. So he's done, and of course he does the attack phase, and his total is higher. So again, the Malpaso player has to discard somebody. So he will kill off old Clay Boone. Farewell, Clay. Okay, so it's Malpaso's turn again. He's got to advance the marker. That's not an optional. It's white, but he does get to draw 1 Guardian. So he draws another Guardian into his Guardian tableau or whatever. And then he draws 2 cards into his hand. And let's see what he... Now remember, because he's got this card blocking him and he's already played this card, he can only add 1 more card here. But he can play this, kill up to 2 cards with the raccoon or Mapachi firepower cards. So he can play that, and that's going to kill off both of these cards right here. So that frees him up here again. So now he's got a total of 8 there. So he says, well, I don't want to waste any more of my cards. I think he's going to have a hard time getting higher than 8 again. So, all right, I'm done. And the General Mapachi player has no cards, so he can only draw his 2 cards, and that's all he's got in his hand. Now he's got this Avalanche card he can play, which is going to add another sombrero to the Mexican Army card, which is the last extra one. There's only a total of 14. You start with 12 on the card. He's added 2 on there, so the card is full. If he played another card to add another one, you just wouldn't add one because there aren't any more. So he's going to discard that. And the only other card he has here is kill 1 Guardian or destroy 1 Colt Army Revolver. So if, for instance, if this Colt Army Revolver was here in the current battlefield, he could destroy that. But he's going to kill a Guardian. Let's get rid of those guys. There's only... If he kills off this guy, he's got to discard a card. He still has 1 more 0. No, he's got 2 more 0s, and they both have True Grit. So he's just going to take this True Grit token off of Esminia Jones. And now the General Mapachi player doesn't have any more cards, so he's got to end his play cards phase. And now we go to the attack phase. Well, he certainly doesn't win the Mapachi player does not win the attack here because he's got no power cards. And I've got a total of 8. So now the Malpaso player gets to remove 1 token from the arrival of the Mexican Army card. He's still got quite a bit on there. There are some cards that you can play, that the Malpaso player gets that he can play that actually removes some of those tokens. So there's other ways to remove them other than winning the battle here. But now he has we go to the next round, and he has the option of going to the next turn on this card. That's optional because it's green, and he would get to draw 2 new Guardians, or he can just go on to the next card, which I think that's what he wants to do. And let's get this over with as soon as possible. And he does get to draw 1 Guardian. So he gets old Edward Rose. And now he gets to draw 2 cards into his hand. So that's a pretty good one. Now see, here's one that has the dynamite barrel, which he may want to save that, even though it's pretty good to put here. You know, in the next battlefield is where he could use two dynamite barrels to blow up the bridge. So that might be something worth saving and not playing this turn. He can play this throwing knife for 2 and draw 1 card, so he's going to do that. So let's draw a card. Now see, this one, this one you play on the other player's turn when he would kill off one of your guardians, either from a card or from, you know, winning the attack. You could play this instead and prevent 1 kill, so that's pretty good. This one would let him kill one of the guy's power cards, but you know, he doesn't have any yet since we just started this battle. So let's go ahead and play this Blaze of Glory and hope we get some more dynamite later. So he's got 5 in there. He's going to go ahead and well, no, he'll go ahead and put Beecher's Bible in there too. So he's got a total now of 6. Okay, it's General Mapachi's turn. Again, he has no cards, so he just gets to draw his normal 2. And he can play this Los Tiburon for 2. And then he can play this Ruales, and he gets to draw 1 card. Oh, that's General Mapachi himself. He's worth 6, but I'd have to discard 2 cards to play him, and I don't have 2 cards to discard. And if I play him, I get to kill 1 Guardian. But if this guy ever gets killed, I gotta automatically discard a random card from my hand. And he, you know, he says he costs 2 cards, but if he's played at Malpaso, which is over here, then he doesn't cost anything to play, or at the silver mine. But in any case, I'm still here at this Crystal River stable or whatever, so I can't play him because I have no other cards, and he costs 2 to play there. So I just have to end my turn at that point. So that only gives me a total of 3, and the Malpaso player has a total of 5, 6. So he wins that attack, and he gets to discard another sombrero from the Mexican army. So I think that gives you a good idea how the game plays. It's pretty easy, and I don't know, I think it's a fun, pretty quick little game. I don't know. The box says 45 minutes. I'd say that's right. It's a 10 boxes. I guess that's okay. But anyway, I actually, what I remembered from my initial impression from when I played this back in 2015 by myself again, which obviously this game is not to be played by yourself, as the cards have hidden information, you know, that the other player shouldn't know what you have in your hand. So again, it's something you really not meant to be played solo, but it's still fun. Even playing it solo, I have fun with it. And since it's, you know, quick, 45 minutes, I think that's about right. So yeah, I enjoy this game, and I would like to play it against another player at some point. So who knows? Hopefully in the not too distant future, we'll get this COVID out of here and people can start playing with other people again. Well, I mean, I know some people are doing that anyway, but anyway, that's it. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it.